I'm itchy. Yes, I'm itchy. I'm only telling you that so if you notice me, if you catch me scratching, it's because I'm itchy. Especially here, you can actually see. And no, I'm not flexing my my olive oil arms or Popeye. If you can see the red spot there, that's an insect bite from yesterday. And the other spot that's really itchy, this is not really red. This is more of a welt. I don't know if you can see that it's kind of a bump here, like a welt. And they're both very itchy. I was down swimming and hiking down the river yesterday and got bit by some beings, I think ants. I also got a really, really bad one on my toe. Eric got one at the exact same time, almost at the same time. We both said, like, what was going on here? That one was so bad, I almost couldn't walk. That one was so bad that, whatever, I don't know if that was an ant or whatever. But I've been scratching, and now I'm starting already and doing this here. So please forgive me for tending to my my itchiness. Before I talk about Metallica, AJFA, which is short for And Justice for All. Sometimes you don't have time to say it in full. You just don't have time. Even Justice, that's a little bit too long, so you can just say AJFA, and people will know exactly what you're talking about. And you're talking about this album. This is, it's not quite the last. I think this will be the second last of the records, of the 6 records that Miguel, so what did I say, graciously and generously gifted me? I'll continue to use those adjectives. No, those are adverbs. Thank you, Miguel, again. I think I will do Adele. He also gave me Adele. I haven't listened to that one quite yet. But I think I hadn't planned on doing that, but I think I will do Adele. She's on the back burner. Metallica is on the front burner. You know when you have four burners on a stove, I guess the idea is the 2 in front are more important than the ones on the back. Adele is on the back burner with the vegetables, and Metallica and Iron Maiden are on the front burner with whatever the good stuff is that you would cook on the front burner. Maybe soups. So I'm going to talk about And Justice for All. I'm going to go through that track by track. I don't really promote myself much, but talking about this hike that I did yesterday, I saw the best thing yesterday, and there's a video of it. If you'd like to check it out, I'd never seen this before. We captured at the exact moment a big snake. This was probably a 4-foot snake, 1.5 foot snake had caught and was killing and eating a lizard. The lizard was about this big. It was the lizard was called a whiptail, really nice colors. And the snake I've since identified it. I posted in a snake identification group on Facebook that I'm part of. These guys are experts. They have a group of people that are snake experts. This guy identified it within 3 minutes of me posting it. It was a coach whip snake, very long, over a meter, 3-4 feet. And we were walking down the river, and Eric said, "Oh, look at there's the snake. Oh, it's got something in his mouth." And the lizard, you'll see in the video if you want to look at it. The lizard was still writhing in agony. It was in the throes of death. It was thrashing all around, acting like a maniac. And so it still had some life. So we maybe saw it at the exact moment or seconds after the snake had captured it. And it was, like I said, thrashing all around. And I found out that these snakes, that's how they kill. They're not venomous. They don't constrict. They just bite and hold on to the prey, I guess, until it dies. And I think that was the first time ever in my life that I've seen an animal killing its prey. I've seen cats kill mice, things like that. But in the wild, I don't think I've ever seen, I've seen crocodiles live, came almost face to face. I was 6 feet away from one once. But I've never seen an animal killing another one. It was kind of cool. I honestly did feel bad for the lizard because there's nothing you can do. And then the snake, as I got a little bit closer, it slithered away with its head up, still holding the big whiptail lizard in its mouth. Very cool if you look at that. It's the video previous to this one, hiking and swimming down the river. So I'm going to talk about AJFA now. And Justice for All. This was Metallica's 4th album. This is I would put this in the Metallica ranking system. I have this at number 2. I'm not sure what number 3 is. I know what number 1 is. You probably know what it is. I don't know what, I know what the last one is for sure. And I'm not sure about some other ones, but Justice for All for me is number 2, pretty close to number 1. If they had come out in reverse of each other, I think I would take Justice, would put Justice as number 1. It's maybe the best sounding Metallica album for me. This came out in 1988. I'm not going to go through my history with Metallica. You can watch the other videos I've done talking about Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning if you want more detailed information. But I was dying for this album. This came out, I think, in the summer of '88, August or September. And I somehow had, it wasn't a full advance copy of this. I had a couple of songs from this album in advance, maybe in June or July. I have no idea. I also had parts of Among the Living before it came out. I had I Am the Law for sure. I had parts of Rain and Blood. I had a different version of Altar of Sacrifice before Rain and Blood came out. And so I did somehow, I can't remember what songs they were, but they were from Justice for All. This was, I guess, really the last thrash Metallica album until Death Magnetic. That would be 20 years later. And I love this album. I really, really, really love this album. Probably more than, well, I won't go into the rankings. But now, and I remember when this came out. Now this one is, it's got the Dyer's Green sticker. The hype sticker is Dyer's Green vinyl. This is a Walmart limited edition pressing that Miguel sent me. I remember the original hype sticker because this album is 63 or 65 minutes, and that was a big deal back then. That was a long album. Albums back then this was when records were still popular before CDs. Although I remember my friend Paul Sadu had this on CD in like 1988. That was one of the first CDs I remember having. I didn't have it. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the hype sticker. So it was a big deal that it was 63 or 65 minutes. And the hype sticker said over 65 minutes of new Metallica music. And that was it. And I saw this tour in Hamilton. It was called the Damaged Justice Tour. No, not in Hamilton. In why did I say Hamilton? In Toronto, in Maple Leaf Gardens. I think it was March 1989. Queensryche opened. And I had kind of seen it a little bit before. In the summer of '88, Metallica did the Monsters of Rock tour. Van Halen was headlining, Scorpions, Dokken, Metallica, and Kingdom Come, going in descending order. And I saw that tour in Buffalo, New York, at Rich Stadium, Buffalo Bills, where the Buffalo Bills play. And I took pictures of that show. I could have used those as props. I forgot. I took pictures of that show. I was at the front, on the floor, not exactly at the front, but pretty close. And they played Harvester of Sorrow, Language of the Mad. They played it on that tour, and the crowd went crazy. It was amazing to think that back then, because they were about to explode, they were playing before Dokken. Imagine Metallica going on before Dokken. And this is not a retro memory. I've talked before about how people talk about this band blew this band away, which is usually garbage. I think people what they mean is I liked the opening band better than the headliner. But for me, when you say the opening band blew the headliner away, that indicates that everybody, or it was clearly overwhelming that everybody liked the opening band better. That was the case here. Metallica went, oh my God, they went over better than just about any, and they were second on a bill of 5 bands. And Dokken had to follow them. And Dokken was, I was I guess not the biggest Dokken fan, but I liked them well enough. And when Dokken played after that, nobody cared. I guess Scorpions and Van Halen was different. But man, Dokken, poor guys that they had to go on after Metallica in 1988. And that was, for me, this was Metallica at their peak live. Maybe this or even the Black Album. I honestly don't think live that they were better on Master of Puppets or Ride the Lightning. I think Justice for All Tour, Damaged Justice was when Metallica hit their live peak. So that's it. Anything else about the album in general? It did have another thing I remember about it, it had a very, at the time also, I noticed it, and then later in Kerrang or Metal Hammer or one of those magazines, they mentioned, I think in the first line of the review, it said something like, look who's back. Something like, look who's back with a peculiar drum sound, which, Saint Anger had an even more peculiar drum sound. But this was known for having a very strange drum sound in 1988. I'll probably also say this is maybe my favorite drumming album of all time. I've never talked about this, I don't think. I love Lars. I think Lars is one of my... I could even maybe say, I could make the argument that he's my favorite drummer. I think he's an awesome drummer. Back then he did, I think especially starting with Justice for All, maybe even before that, he did some really, really cool stuff, and I think still does. I'm not trying to be a contrarian, because it's very popular to say how much Lars sucks, but I think now, and I've always thought that Lars was an awesome drummer. He played really, really cool stuff, I thought, and great sound on this album. So I guess I'll get to it right now. I will open it up. And this was a double album, although not a gatefold. And yeah, this is not a gatefold either, but it is a double. So I will open it. And what was the packaging like on this? I don't even remember. And I know it had the lyrics, but I don't remember what the sleeve looked like. There we go. All right. Oh, it's coming out easily. The plastic is coming off easily. Whoosh. All right. Am I missing anything? Oh, there's the download card. This had a download card with, or there was a download card with Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning, KEA and RTL if you're pressed for time. And again, like those other ones, if anybody wants to use it, I will gift to you my download code. So the first person to take that can do so. You might have to pause the video. There it is. If you're too slow, you don't deserve it. And there's the other side of the card. All right, so this is just like KEA and RTL. It comes in a plain sleeve, just a white sleeve. Actually, Kill 'Em All was, this is a double. Is it two sleeves or a double? Oh, it is two sleeves, obviously, because it's a double album. The Kill 'Em All sleeve was white and the RTL sleeve was black. And before I get to the actual records, let me look at the lyric sheet. Okay, I remember this for sure. I remember that. Now, I do remember that design, but I don't really remember the lyrics looking like this. Oh, maybe I do. But I've mentioned this before, how much fun it was to go and to get home and sit down with the record and have the lyrics with you, physically holding them. And I've done it with my phone over the years. And it's just not the same, because you can look at on a website, and the website doesn't have the colors. It just has the lyrics, and you can find the lyrics anywhere online, but it doesn't have the colors. It doesn't have the font, and I think that's why I was always pretty good at remembering lyrics, because I had a good and I have a good, like, a photographic memory. And when you're just looking at lyrics online, it's not the same. And obviously, this was Jason Newsted's first full album. He had done Garage Days with them the previous year in 1987. This remaster, I think, came out in 2018. That was the 30th anniversary of it. It came out in 88. All right, so I'll put this and this over here. And I will take out the actual records so you can see the beautiful greenness of them, the Dyer's Eve green, or Dyer's Green, they call it. Is it going to be transparent or not? I think it will be, because Ride the Lightning, RTL, was transparent blue. Oh, and it is. There it is. Oh, and a little bit of a swirl in there. Yeah? Nice, huh? Dyer's Green. I would also say this was the last great or even good Metallica album cover. They had great album covers up to that point. It was only their fourth album. Ride the Lightning was great. Master was great. MOP, by the way. KEA, it was okay. A little bit immature maybe. But Master and MOP and RTL were fantastic. AGFA was also fantastic. After that, Black Album, what are you going to say about that? The cover I'm talking about. Load and Reload, those covers sucked. Saint Anger was not so great. Death Magnetic was pretty bad. Hardwired was pretty bad. I like the 72 Seasons cover. But for me, this is the last classic cover. A lot of people would say this was the last classic Metallica album, which I'm not sure. I can see that people would say that. Anyway, so going through this track by track now, it starts with Blackened. Blackened is the end. Winter it will send, throwing all you see into obscurity. Death of Mother Earth. Never a rebirth. Evolution's end. Never will it mend. Never. That's a... maybe I don't want to contradict myself because I said about RTL that Creeping Death was my favorite Metallica song in their whole catalog. And when I talked earlier about KEA, I said Four Horsemen was my favorite. So I don't want to go too crazy. And I don't know if I would say Blackened is my number one favorite, but it is in the upper echelon. It's up there for sure. Blackened is that middle part, Colorado Blackened, and then opposition, contradiction, premonition, compromise, agitation, violation, liberation, planet dies. Maybe I got that wrong, but oh my God! And when I first heard this, I thought, yes, Metallica. This is why Metallica has been and still is at this point my favorite band. And I heard them play this live, obviously on this tour. They opened with it. Since then, I've only heard it once. When they played the 8 nights in Mexico City in 2012, I went to the last one and they played Blackened. I was headbanging. I thought my head was going to fall off and roll down to the seats in front of me. I was headbanging so hard during Blackened. Next is Justice for All. This was continuing the trend. Actually, both these songs, I talked about this with Ride the Lightning. They had a real formula back then. Every record, Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master, and this, they all started with a very fast thrash song. That would change with the Black Album, with Enter Sandman, of course. The second song, not on Kill 'Em All, but on Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets in this, was the title track, and it was long, kind of up-tempo and fast, but not thrash. Ride the Lightning the song was a little bit thrash. But Justice for All, Justice is Lost, Justice is Rape, Justice is Done. Pulling Your Strings, Justice is Done. Seeking No Truth, Winning Is All. Find It So Grim, So True, So Real. I was going to say that's as good as Blackened. I'm not sure, but that song is great. And I also heard that one at that same show where they played Blackened, they played Justice for All. I think I heard Justice for All also when I saw them in 2009 in Mexico City. And I remember that song took me a while to really get a grip on that. It was kind of hard to, because it's I don't know how to explain this. If I were a musician, I could use the proper terminology like Saul Rosenberg should use. But it's one and then two. No. If you know the song, you know what I'm talking about. And I know that was really bad sonically, but I remember listening to that song again and again. It didn't do what I wanted it to do or what I expected to do. And Metallica has a lot of songs like that. So that was Justice for All. And I see now this is 9:45. This must have been their longest track up to this point. They didn't have anything longer than 9:45 at this point. I guess Orion was maybe closest, or Master of Puppets was around 8:40. 9:45 for Justice for All. And what a difference between a song that's on this that's 9:45 and a song that's, let's say, even 7 minutes on 72 Seasons that just feels long. And Justice for All, the song doesn't feel long, just because there's so many different parts to it. It's not repetitive at all. So this would have been those first two songs would have been on the first side of the first record. You would have turned it over, and next you would have heard Eye of the Beholder, which I saw only recently, only maybe a month ago, a couple of weeks ago, an interview with Lars. I don't know if the interview was new and I hadn't seen it. I mean, if the interview, if it was new or if it was old and I hadn't seen it. But he really doesn't like Eye of the Beholder. In this interview, he mentioned that he had listened to it recently, and he said, like, what were you thinking with that song? I have no problem with it. It's not a favorite like the other two, but I liked it then and I like it now. I listened to this record this morning. I took it out for a walk, and I like it. I like especially the very, very last. Doesn't matter what you see or into what you read. You can do it your own way if it's done just how I say, the way that song ends. So abruptly like that. I think Eye of the Beholder is excellent. And One is next. Now, One, obviously, this was Metallica's first song that really got any real attention outside of the metal community or the thrash community, because they did a video for it. And back then, people were crying, sell out, holding them to their words when they, were 21, 22, saying, we'll never do a video. When they were saying we'll never do a video when they were 21 and 22, that's probably because they never thought that they would get to a point that they would be in a position where they could do a video, where they could have, be supported by a record company to do a video. So even back then, people were calling sellout. They called that with even, I guess, Fade to Black on Ride the Lightning 4 years prior. And I remember when I saw the video for One, I hated it. I thought, this video sucks. I was 18 years old, and I wanted like a metal. I wanted it to be like a live performance video, which it kind of was. But I didn't like all of the movie clips from, I guess it's Johnny Got His Gun or Johnny Get Your Gun, whatever it is. I never did watch that movie or read that book. But that bothered me in the way that they had the sound from the movie over the music in the video, and it was black and white. I just didn't like it. To me, I thought Metallica is just trying to be artsy fartsy. I love the song, and I like the video now, but at the time I really hated that video. I thought, come on, Metallica finally did a video and it's this. But in retrospect, looking back on it, that was really the first big one example of Metallica doing what they want. And I know a lot of people hate Metallica, but they've always, maybe more than any other band, they do what they want. And so I think One, retroactively, One was a big step for Metallica, because it kind of set the tone for how they were going to be the rest of their career, probably including up to now. So One would have been the second song on the first record. So the next song, this would be side 3. Or side 1 of record 2, was The Shortest Straw, Suspicion Is Your Name, Your Honesty to Blame, Put Dignity to Shame, Witch Hunt, Modern Day, Determining Decay, Your Blatant Disarray, Disfigure, The Public Eye's Disgrace, Define Commonplace, Unending Paper Chase, Unending, Which Weakening, Deafening, Painstaking, Doth Vertigo, Your Vertigo It Doth Bring. Doth! I don't think I've ever heard a band ever, before or since, use doth with Vertigo It Doth Bring, or Your Vertigo It Doth Bring. That could be a favorite too. That's maybe a top 10 Metallica song ever. That's why I hold this album in such high regard. And it gets better too. That's kind of a fast, and I don't think I've heard them play that one live. I don't know if they did it on that tour. I definitely haven't heard it since that tour live, personally. They don't play it very often, but Shortest Straw is a fantastic song. Not quite thrash, but it's got some giddy up to it. Next is Harvester of Sorrow, Language of the Mad. For years, I had cited this as my favorite Metallica song ever, which it's still up there for sure, again with Four Horsemen, Creeping Death, Blackened, a couple of other ones on other albums that I haven't talked about yet. Maybe I will, but oh my God, Harvester of Sorrow it was and is just so one of the heaviest Metallica songs ever. And again, going back to their formula, it's a slow, heavy song, kind of around the middle of the album, similar to The Thing That Should Not Be and For Whom the Bell Tolls on Ride the Lightning before that. They still play that pretty regularly live. I've seen that live several times, including, as I said, the first time on the Monsters of Rock tour in the summer of '88. Oh yeah, Harvester of Sorrow is fantastic. One of Lilia's too. Lilia really likes this album, and she especially likes Harvester of Sorrow. Next is Frayed Ends of Sanity. That's another one. I think they don't really like that one. I think they only played it once, maybe twice. They always teased it. They always used to, and maybe still do, tag it on to the end of Enter Sandman or Seek and Destroy. They just play a little bit of it. They don't play that part. But that riff, that slow riff. Should I say it again that it's one of my favorites? I really love Frayed Ends of Sanity. I wish they liked it more, because then they would play it more. But if they don't like it, they're not going to play it. Especially the last part, Frayed Ends of Sanity. Hear them calling me. Ha ha ha. And it gets a little bit faster there. Amazing, amazing song. And then the last side 2 of the second record would be To Live Is To Die. I talked about this with Call of Cthulhu and Anesthesia or Pulling Teeth and some other albums or bands. I'm not a big instrumental fan. Oh, this was 9:48. This is 3 seconds longer than the title track, 9:48 versus 9:45. And again, especially at the time, I just thought, oh, what a waste. 9 minutes and 48 seconds of, just music. Now, even though the music is good, I feel like I need lyrics to kind of pay attention to it. But I do like all of those songs, the instrumentals. I appreciate them more now. To Live Is To Die is maybe my favorite. Maybe Call of Cthulhu is my least favorite. So I guess it's really just between To Live Is To Die and Orion. I'm not sure which one I like better. That's a tough one. I would have to listen to them back to back. And this was written or co-written, or some parts of it were Cliff Burton's, which this was more understandable that they included, because I guess they wanted to have some Cliff presence. And then that goes into Dyer's Eve, which is by far the fastest, thrashiest song on this album. Dear Mother, Dear Father, what is this hell you've put me through? Believer, deceiver, day in, day out, live my life through you. Push unto me what's wrong or right, but hidden from this thing that they call life. I feel like I'm getting the lyrics out of order. And what is Dyer's Eve? I still don't know what that is. I'm sure I've maybe looked it up at some point in all these years since the internet has been around, and listening to this album for so long, 36 years now. But I don't know what Dyer's Eve means or what it refers to. It's probably also the rawest, that guitar tone, when that fast riff comes in, because it starts and then when it goes fast, that riff is very, very raw. That's probably, it's not my favorite, not even close, but I think for thrashers, Dyer's Eve would be considered the favorite. And I did see, they don't play that live very often either. I did see them do that live in 2009 in Mexico City. That was a nice surprise to hear that. Yeah. So that's it for And Justice for All. An all-time classic album for me, as all the first 4 Metallica albums are. I don't really have anything against anything that came after that. Some of it I really love after that, but I know some people, and even now, it's amazing after all these years, you still read comments online, people still saying stupid shit like Metallica was dead after Justice for All, Metallica was dead after Cliff Burton died, whatever. You're morons. God, just let it go. 36 years later, whatever I said. And they're missing on some great stuff, I think. So that's it. I got a lot of stuff coming up. I won't say what it is. Maybe it's more Metallica. Maybe it's more Kiss. Maybe it's more what I've said. Maybe it's something that I haven't talked about before. But I got a lot of stuff in the hopper. You know what? I'm going to give you a little preview. Look at this. Look at what I've got here. And I have more on the way. So stay tuned is what they say. And until then, and justice for all, baby.